We're going to start out in Sukhasana, simple cross legs on a support, and we're going to use the belt to just give it a little bit of extra awareness and extra support to the thigh bones. I have taught this quite recently, so you may remember. Now you can see that that's quite taut. It's going around the sacrum, which is the big bone at the base of the spine, and the knees. So it's also a little bit twisted, so I need to try and even that out. So you can see that there from the front. I'll show you from behind and from the side. So the belt isn't high up around the waist, but low down around the back of the pelvic region. And it's not so tight that it's bringing your knees up higher than they would normally go, but it's high enough that it feels comfortable on the knees. So you can see where that is around the back of the sacral region, and I'll just show from the side. I'll just do this on 2 foam pads, it's a little quicker. So don't have the buckle on your flesh because it will become uncomfortable. It's quite low down here. And you lift. Alright, so hopefully you're in position with your belt done up now, in the correct position. So from this, see if that stability around the pelvis helps you to lift your spine. Spinal column is quite heavy, and sometimes our muscles around our spinal column are quite weak. And that's why for many of us sitting for any period of time onto the floor, it's one of the reasons why sitting for a long period of time onto the floor in cross legs or in any of the other seated poses can be quite challenging. And we have to learn over a period of time how to rise to that challenge. So you can see here that I'm not lifting these legs up at all. They're just releasing into that belt. And from here, the abdomen draws back, the shoulders roll back, and the spinal column extends, the crown of the head lifts towards the ceiling. Let your eyes close. So with the eyes closed, just go through the observations in your body. So see what's happening in your pelvis. Observe the rotational action of the femur heads in the sockets. Feel the connection of the femur bones into those pelvic sockets. There's a little more awareness with the belt pulling those femur bones back. After your next exhalation, allow the head to release down. And now lift your head and lift your eyelids. Well done. Alright, so we're going to come into a standing pose now. We're coming straight into the lateral poses, and we are using the belt like this. So the belt's going to come underneath the left foot, so I'm mirroring you here, and around the right thigh. So I'm just going to lengthen that a little bit so I've got a bit more space there. Now, most of you will know the pose Trikonasana. If you don't have a belt, you can just do this without the belt. If you find it a little too confusing to do this with the belt, then you can do it without it. But you can see, I'll just show from the back, that this belt buckle is on the femur head, and I'm just pulling it back, but you've got to get a nice long width between the heel of the right foot and the instep of the left foot. You get this rotation, you pull on the belt, you extend, lengthen, and you continue to pull on that belt as you take the hand down. So it just gives a little bit of awareness of that crease at the top of the thigh. Those of you who are new to the pose or who haven't got a belt, you step or jump, you just imagine that you've got a belt pulling up here on this crease, and you come into the action like that. Okay, so hopefully you've got your belt on now, those of you who are working with the belt. It will be around the instep of your left foot. The buckle in the right hand comes around the top of the right thigh. It's a little too high up, so I'm just going to move that. The heel of the front foot lines up with the instep of the back foot, and this tail should be pulling backwards, so you can pull on it with your left hand. Now push strongly into the outer edge of your left foot as you turn and rotate your right leg. Pull on the belt, lift your chest. Stretch out with the right arm, and as you come to the right, you're pulling on that belt to just get a little more awareness of this crease here. Roll your top shoulder up and back, and then extend the arm up. Lift up your kneecap, your thigh muscle on your front leg. Hopefully that back foot will be pressing down into the belt. The belt does tend to go a little bit loose as you come into the pose. Don't worry about that. Okay, and coming up. Right, we'll turn to the other side now. So you have to take your belt off to do this. Place it to the instep of the right foot and the thigh of the left, and you should be able to pull that way with the belt. And the buckle goes towards the back of the body so that you can then hold on to it with your right hand, that tail end of the belt. Get your feet nice and wide so you can feel some connection here. You can feel the belt pressing into that thigh crease. Stretch the arm out, the left arm out. Lift your chest and rotate it to the center, but turn your kneecap and thigh muscle to the narrow end of the mat, and then pull on the belt as you come into the action. And then you can take your top arm up. Don't forget your back leg. It still has to remain strong, active, engaged. Pressing down into the outer edge of that back foot. Okay, coming up, turning the feet and stepping the feet together if you've got the belt on. It's a little difficult to jump with the belt on. You don't want to get caught up in it. You can just place your belt around your neck for the moment. Inner edges of the feet together, weight back into the heels, lift your chest, roll the shoulders back and down, and see if you can get that balance, that equilibrium between the two sides. So see which side of the body rests more heavily into the feet. Maybe it's the left, maybe it's the right, maybe it alters one and then the other. So we're going to come into Gomukhasana now. You may need your belt for this. So I'm just going to show from behind. I'm going to stretch up with the right arm and take it down. Stretch out with the left arm and rotate it. And then you'll see if you can catch hold of your fingers, or if that's a little tricky, then you have your belt there to do. We're going to be using the belt again in a minute, so keep hold of it even if you know that you don't need to use it in these poses. So the belt goes over the right shoulder, Spread your toes, weight back into the heels, kneecaps lifting. Extend up with the right arm. So really stretch up as though you're trying to catch something on the ceiling. Rotate this arm inwards. So the flesh of the arm, the upper arm, rotates in towards your ear. Keep that upper arm towards your ear and bend it at the elbow and walk your fingers down your spine. Breathe, stretch out with the left hand, turn, so you're rotating your thumb towards the floor, bend at the elbow and walk your fingers up. Now you might be able to catch your belt, you might be able to catch your fingers. So you hold on to whatever is appropriate, draw back with that left shoulder and extend the right elbow up towards the ceiling. But keep the ribs back, don't let the frontal ribs pop forwards. Releasing, and we'll go to the other side. So the belt now goes over your left shoulder. Stretch up with the left arm. Breathe. Rotate inwards and bend. Extend out just below shoulder height. Really get the opening in that shoulder joint as you turn, rotate, and see if you can catch, again, your shoulders or the belt. Don't get too hung up on completing any of these poses. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, you can get fixated on the end point of the pose, which isn't doing yoga, that's just doing movement. All right, and releasing. So we're going to take the belt again for the legs. I'm just going to show how that's going to work. Same action because we're still doing lateral poses. So we're coming into Virabhadrasana 2, and from Virabhadrasana 2 we're going to come into Parsvakonasana, but just using the belt. So I'm going to show how we'll work this. You'll rotate, you'll stretch out, and then you'll see. Now the belt, because we've been using it for Trikonasana, is going to be quite tight. So this is really pulling this crease in deeply. If you need to release it a little bit, you can do so, but you know, you want to get that awareness of that crease. Then the elbow will come down onto this thigh, top arm comes up and rotates, and you take that top arm over the ear. Then we're going to see, can we come back into Virabhadrasana 2 and then come up and do the other side. Okay, so let's give that a go. So again, you've got this tail end of the belt going that way so that you can pull it to lengthen or shorten it as you see fit. The belt goes around that arch, so it should really touch the central foot bone. You know, there's a joint just there on the outer foot where the metatarsals and the tarsals meet. So that's where we're putting the belt. And then at the other end, it goes onto the thigh crease, and you can pull it with this left hand if you need to tighten it at all. So that's got a little bit loose while I've been fiddling about. Check that your heel lines up with your instep and that you're turning this front thigh. So now you can hold onto that belt and bend your front leg, bend into an angle, and now stretch your arms out. Breathe. So it's quite nice, it kind of gives you a bit of stability in this pose. Now, right elbow down onto your right thigh, left hand onto your left hip, roll your left shoulder up and back, keeping the ribs back and keeping the pressure into the outer edge of your back foot. From here, stretch this arm up. If there's shoulder problems, you can keep it back on the hip, rotate it and take it over the ear if you're able to. So feel the length coming in that left armpit. So we're using this to really extend and stretch the side flank and the left armpit. We're going to come back into Virabhadrasana 2. So see, can you come into this middle action? Look along the ring finger of the right hand. Straighten the front leg, turn the feet, and then heel toe the feet in so we can come to the other side. So they're quite strong actions, you know, slow but pretty strong. So again, this belt pulls back. Hopefully it will be the right length for you now. Check your alignment. Get this rotation. Turn the back foot in slightly, don't have the back foot turning out, and push so the energy comes from this outer hip all the way down to the outer ankle and outer foot bone. This rotates, chest forwards. Pull on the belt a little to just remind yourself that's the area that needs to move in. Stretch out with your left arm as you come into this angle. Active in the back leg, pushing the thigh muscle into the bone. Breathe. Now take the arm down. Top arm comes up and you really rotate it in the socket. Don't let that top arm bend at the elbow. Quite often I see this in class because the temptation is to try and get the arm down as far as possible, but we're using this arm as a lever. The limbs are used as levers in yoga to create more weight, exert a little more pressure on the spine or the torso in whatever way we're trying to work. Breathe through the nasal passages. So when we come out of this pose, it's back into Virabhadrasana 2. So don't come right out. Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2 pose. Look along the ring finger of that left hand, and then slowly coming up, turning the feet forwards, and then bringing the feet together. So again, put the belt around the neck. Stand in Tadasana, spread your toes, weight back into the heel bones and breathe. So we're going to come into some seated forward bending actions now. And again, we're going to use the belt. So I'm just going to show you how this is going to work. It might help if I had it around the right way. We're going to have a big loop again. This was just a little bit twisted, so. Right. And you'll need 2 foam pads to sit on, or a couple of folded blankets or towels if you don't have equipment. And the belt again, like at the beginning of the class, is going to come around the sacral region. And we're going to place the belt around the feet. That's a little bit too tight still. So you want it firm, but not so that it's going to stop you straightening your legs. Okay, so it comes around the balls of the feet and then you stretch your legs out. So again, it's around this sacral region, so it's kind of quite comforting really, because it makes you feel as though you're being supported there. So hold onto the belt and lift your chest. So from here, we're going to come just into this forward bending action and then back up again. All right, so put your belt on around the sacral region and around the balls of the feet. Have a chair close by so that you've got it behind you for the next action. So once you've got into position, hold on to the belt, active in the legs, so you know this action of the thigh muscles active, the kneecaps lifting. Those with overextension in the back of the knees, be careful not to push. You can see here I can push the back of the knee towards the floor You're not doing that, all right? You're activating the thighs. And if you feel that the back of the knee is pushing towards the floor, take a little bit of blanket and place it here underneath the calves so that it stops you from doing that. So hold on to your belt, lift your chest. And then we're just hinging forwards and holding onto the belt and lifting. So don't allow the spinal column to bend, to concave. We are moving in with the dorsal spine. That's this area here, moves in. Chest lifts. Okay, and coming up. So now we're going to come into a Shavasana action. You can use a bolster underneath your knees. You can use a blanket underneath your head. Just helps to relieve the lower back a little. The arms turned to face so that the palms face the ceiling. Head's raised a little so that there's no strain in the throat. And then you let your eyes close. So I'm going to leave you now in your Shavasana. I'd like you to do a 3 or 5 minute Shavasana. So give yourself a little bit of time at the end of this quite strong sequence to let the body recover. I will look forward to seeing you again next time. I hope you enjoyed this sequence. Namaste.